Hey everyone, it's September 28th, and that means that if today's your birthday, you share with serial killer Thomas Richard Bunday, known as the North Pole Killer, who murdered at least 5 young women and girls between 1979 and 1981. And that is him right up there. Born in Nashville in 1948, Bunday was the youngest in his family, with his older brother being born 15 years prior. His father suffered from PTSD due to his time in World War II and was abusive towards the family as a result, and Bunday even refused to go to the man's funeral when he died in 1963. He was a good student and had lots of friends, but would also engage in some sadistic behavior, such as using gasoline to light neighborhood cats on fire. He married his high school sweetheart in 1967 after they graduated and joined the Air Force that same year. While he was stationed in Southeast Asia due to the Vietnam War, his wife gave birth to a son conceived during an affair, but they stayed married. When he returned to the U.S., they had a daughter together, but having a son that wasn't his in the household strained the relationship. Bunday was transferred to an Air Force base in Alaska in the mid-1970s to teach electronics, where he began to see a psychotherapist to help deal with his issues. It didn't do the trick, however, as he began murdering young women and girls in the area in 1979. His first victim was the wife of a fellow airman, the 19-year-old young mother of a 1-year-old infant. She went missing in August, and the police initially focused on her husband, who'd failed a polygraph test. The lesson to take from that is that polygraph tests are bullshit and don't actually work. Her body was found 1 month later, just outside the city limits of North Pole, Alaska, which is roughly 1,700 miles south of the North Pole. Polygraph tests aren't the only things that are bullshit in this story. She had been strangled and shot in the head, but showed no signs of being sexually assaulted, and detectives were focused on proving her husband was the culprit. In June of 1980, an 11-year-old girl went missing, and her brother was able to tell investigators that he had seen a man with a military-style haircut and uniform in a blue car talking to the girl. Not having a blue car, the husband of the first victim was cleared, and they were back at square one. Soon the bodies of a 21-year-old and 16-year-old were found near the Air Force Base, and like the previous victim, both had been strangled before being shot in the face. A list of 3 airmen who had exhibited problematic behavior towards women was given to the police, and 2 of them voluntarily came in to speak with detectives and were cleared of having any involvement. The third was Bunday, who refused to speak with them. He drove a blue car, but they couldn't find any concrete evidence to tie him to the murders. 2 years later, the brother of the 11-year-old girl was able to identify him in a photo lineup, by which time he'd been transferred to a base in Wichita Falls, Texas. Investigators flew down there and interviewed him about the murders, placing photos of the victims around the room. After 5 days of questioning, he confessed to committing the 5 murders, but because the police were from Alaska, they were unable to arrest him in Texas until they got a warrant. It took 8 days to obtain one, but before they were able to go back and arrest Bunday, he intentionally drove his motorcycle into oncoming traffic and was killed in a crash that was ruled a suicide. If you want to learn more, Bunday's story was featured on the Oxygen series Buried in the Backyard just last week. If this is your birthday, I hope you have a great day. Leave me a comment so I can wish you a happy birthday. If you know someone whose birthday it is today, send them this video so I can find out all about their birthday twin. And to Thomas Richard Bunday, I say, happy birthday, you bastard.